No, you didn't get the big fish, and no, you can't win them all. But 3 out of 4 ain't too bad, and Miami does well on the closing day of national recruitment for the 2022 cycle. National Signing Day, the second version on this Wednesday. Welcome into Miami Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football. We got Cam Underwood, of course, on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock to break it all down for us. Join Cam and the rest of the crew there at State of the U. Cam, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well. So hanging out. Obviously here to be with you guys. National Signing Day, always a holiday day. I know that some people were like, oh, I didn't know it was National Signing Day, or I didn't take the day off, but I usually used to, and I only do it for the December one, but I love them all. So I'm here, just working through it. I got a couple of pieces of content to finish. I got the last 4 notebooks. I know that I'm behind a little bit because just the secret day job was kicking my butt for 6 weeks there. So getting caught up. But yeah, it was a National Signing Day. Like I said, no, we can't win them all. We won one that I didn't think we were going to win. Actually 2, and lost one I thought maybe we could have picked up. Some reshuffling and everything, but all in all, you have to like it, obviously, for a variety of reasons, but we'll get into it.
So on a very positive day, I'm going to start off on a negative note that actually could be spun into a positive based on your perspective. So Shamar Stewart had a choice of Miami and Texas A&M, and he chose the Texas A&M hat. Maybe it was tipped off by the sports jacket as well, and chose Texas A&M. However, in looking at listening to an interview with Shamar Stewart, I think there was a lot of respect given to Miami throughout this process, and kudos to Mario Cristobal, and basically stating that it might have just been a situation in which he just didn't have enough time to get to know Cristobal and the rest of the staff in making his final decision.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe all of that. I think there is a measure of take it with a grain of salt there. And he was dressed in Monsignor Pace colors, that kind of garnet reddish thing, and black, and they also have gold in their school colors. But and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm like, again, I think that he's going to Texas A&M. I'm pretty sure that he is, but it wasn't like he was wearing Texas A&M maroon. Like those were Monsignor Pace colors, and everything. But yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and even with the positivity of today, even with getting some guys that we needed. Picking up one, like I said, that I didn't think was going to come. That's the one that just gets me. Not having a Shamar Stewart. And I know that it would have been a heavy lift. And I know, all these things that we've talked about these last couple of weeks is really just laying the foundation for him going there. You know what I mean? The handler coach guy, Marquez, talking about, Miami prioritized other guys and not him. I don't believe that for a second, but by putting that out there in that interview, that's laying the foundation for me. Like, well, we told you and everything. If you want to talk about the fact that the staff wasn't there long, okay, sure. That might be part of it, but it's not like you don't know Mario Cristobal, and it wasn't like he wasn't recruiting you when he was at Oregon. You know what I mean? But in the end, he made the decision that was the best for him. And though I'm personally disappointed because obviously I want a top 10, top 5 player in America to be on my alma mater's roster, I wish him the best. And I respect that decision because we all make the decisions that are the best for us. I chose to come to the University of Miami from Detroit, Michigan. And I'm sure that there were some people, I mean, obviously not in the same recruiting kind of way, but I'm sure that there are people in my life who are like, why are you doing that? And if you wanted a smaller private school, you could have went to Kalamazoo College, you could have gone to Calvin College, there's all kinds of places in the state of Michigan you could have gone if that's the experience that you wanted, but I wanted to do my own thing. And that was it. So again, I'm not saying that I'm the same, but that similar mentality of going away from home and making the decision that fits best for you. And if that's what he did, fine. If you spin that forward now, of the 5 really tip-top DNs in South Florida this year, Miami got 1. And I've always said, when it was the Palmetto 5 last year, this 5 at a single position this year, my baseline is 2. And I know people are going to say, even in the comments right now, well, hey, but wait, Cyrus Moss, you got him from Bishop Gorman. Yeah. And that's great. But between Marvin Jones Jr., Kenyatta Jackson, Nigel E. Kelly, Dante Anderson, who's probably a step below, and Shamar Stewart, those were the 5 potential All-Americans, and 4 of them were All-Americans that we were talking about heading into this cycle. And Miami needs to get 2 of those. And one of those needs to be Shamar. You get 1. And there's some people like, well, we got the best DN because Shamar is a cheeseburger away from kicking inside because he's 6'6", 275, 280 look like. I get it and everything. But only getting Nigel E. Kelly from that group of 5, for me, leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And I get it. I understand. We had the losing season, the bad vibes, Manny Diaz continuing to prove that he wasn't the guy. Mario Cristobal did take time. And we can see, and we'll talk about this as well, that he was a very contemplative person. So he took time to decide to take this job and then try to hit the ground running. But that wasn't enough, runway to flip the mentality of Shamar Stewart, who was unanimously pretty well known that he was going to Texas A&M. So really even having it be a kind of conversation shows, the work that was done. But end of the day, I don't care about the labor pain. Show me the baby, right? And from the 5 elite defensive ends in South Florida, Miami only signed 1. That's not good enough. But, again, we wish them all well at their chosen schools, and we'll keep it moving. I'm not going to speak ill about any, young man about whatever. Am I disappointed that they chose to go elsewhere, especially Shamar? Absolutely. But I'm going to leave it there.
Next up would be the surprise of the day, at least not being a recruiting guy myself, but based on what I read and see and hear, TreVonte Citizen, top 10 running back out of the state of Louisiana, who chose to come to the U.
Lake Charles College Prep, 4-star, was down the last weekend for a visit this past weekend. And in the past couple of days, it pretty much seemed like he was going to Florida. Like that was pretty much all the chatter, all the intel. I mean, if you look at Rivals, if you look at 247, if you look at the new On3 network, pretty much everybody was saying that Citizen was going to go there. And transparently, like the piece I had written was he goes to Florida, he picks another school in the state of Florida, and it's not Miami, and da-da-da-da. And I'm watching it, and then he starts with all of the hat game nonsense. So he started with Florida, and then it goes to Miami, then to LSU. It was like all of them. And I was like, if you look at hat signs, that was a Bobo gas station Miami hat. You're not going to wear, because these guys, you can think about it, these kids are wearing, they're putting these hats on for the photo op and everything. So you're not going to have a raggedy looking hat like that. And so I was like, yeah, no, it's not going to be Miami based upon the hat signs. But underneath the table, I had that clean white lid that looked like the helmet almost. So, oh, wow, okay. And I was very caught unawares. Okay, wow, okay, we're going to tweet that out. I'm going to go into that piece and completely edit what I put and change it into a welcome to the U piece. But yeah, man, a 6 foot, 200 and almost 20 pound 4-star All-American running back who runs behind his pads, is a great one-cut runner. You can probably integrate him into the screen game a little bit as well, and has the physicality and mentality to step up into pass protection, a la like a Travis Homer who made waves here doing that. I mean, anytime that somebody tried to blitz and Travis Homer was in pass protection, that blitzing linebacker or safety pretty invariably crumbled. And you have someone of that same size who can probably do that kind of a thing. I mean, that's a good addition. And when you have already added Henry Parrish to the group, when you add Henry Parrish already, who was a 4-star, along with Jalen Knight and Donald Chaney, Thaddeus Franklin, and Cody Brown, that was 5 blue chip running backs already in the room. And then you get a 6th one whose ranking is as high as anyone else in the room from any of the previous 2 classes that were already stocked in there. That's how you recruit a position. That is really, really great stuff. And he's a guy who Mario Cristobal, even today in his presser, said TreVonte Citizen is a 3-down back. And that's a harkening back to a time gone by. He can run the ball, he can catch it, he can be there in pass protection. He has that physicality where if we want to give him 35 carries, you know, if you think back to who was the big back that they had at Oregon, it was before Jonathan Stewart.
Royce Freeman? Oh, Jonathan Stewart.
Royce Freeman. Either of those dudes, those are big 220, 230-pound guys. You get him coming in, Citizen at 217, so a cheeseburger away from 220. You get in the weight room, you like, you know, eating those weights a little bit, you're up to 225, almost 230. That's a big kid, you know? And again, as high a caliber recruit as anyone else in that room, that is really, really, really great work. I predicted it, but I was kind of on a limb like, okay, it's going to be a week into the job, but Kevin Smith, Miami native, who ran for almost 3,000 yards at UCF that one year, he's going to flex his recruiting muscle in 1 week on the job, and he's going to get TreVonte Citizen. And he did it. Man, look, that is really great. And on top of that, you take him off of Florida's roster. And you play them in 2 years. You know what I mean? That's the double whammy. It's the only way it could have been immediately better was if he was slated to go to Florida State and then you take him off that roster because you played them every single year. So it's not only the addition here, it's the removal, the attrition of that talent from, I won't call them a rival, but a team that I hate. Hey, that's double good for me. So sign me up.
The Florida Gators are not a rival.
They say that we're not. We are, but if they want to say that we're not and we just play every now and then, fine. Whatever. I don't care. Rival, not, whatever you want to call it. I don't like them. I'm good with that.
So you mentioned Florida State, which, of course, during this entire recruiting process has had a higher ranking than Miami up until the final day. They landed at number 20 in the country, number 4 in the ACC, and Miami at number 14, I believe.
Yep.
Actually, 247 right now has it at 15 for Miami. So I don't know what happened there, but they've got 15 right this second.
Okay.
So there it is. So regardless, let's move on to our next signing of the day. And so Ahmad Moten is a defensive lineman out of Cardinal Gibbons High School in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, around the corner from my old house up there in Northeast Fort Lauderdale a little bit. Two-time state champion. We were recruiting him and his teammate R. Mason Thomas. Both Thomas was committed to Iowa State. Both had taken visits to multiple places. Thomas ends up landing at Oklahoma, but Moten comes on down to the U. So we went 1 for 2 there at Cardinal Gibbons this week or today. I'm on Moten 6'3", 294. That is the last recruit signing, notebook that I have to write. I'm sorry, I got a text message there. Yeah, so that's the last notebook I have to write. But he's a good interior lineman. I think he was first or second team All-State, first team All-Broward. Again, he and Thomas next to each other on that defensive line led Cardinal Gibbons to the last 2 state championships in their classification. And if the name sounds familiar, that is Anthony Moten's younger brother, Anthony Moten, who went to St. Thomas, won state championships there, and then came to Miami and played from 2014 to 2017. So there's family legacy there. Obviously, another defensive tackle in the family. So he has that kind of legacy of family of big people, and they play inside. MarkRogersTV was very effusive of his praise for Moten being an athletic 3 technique, an interior lineman for the future of the program, which is perfectly fine. That we obviously need interior linemen. So adding him to the class is great. He's not going to be a day 1 player, I don't think at all. But again, you don't necessarily have to be a day 1 player to have value to this program. And, Moten with the family name and also with the pedigree of coming from Cardinal Gibbons, who, again, has won the last 2 state championships in their classification, is pretty good. And that's a good gift for Miami.
As was noted here in the live chat, astute observation, not that you didn't know this, Cam, but you need volume as a football team. Of course, volume does matter. Quantity does matter. It's an attrition sport, but still, to look at the quality of the class per player ranking, only we'll call this a virtual tie between Miami and North Carolina. So only in order, Alabama, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Georgia have higher ranked a higher ranked per player rating than Miami.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is the thing that we've talked about all the way through. The quantity was low, but the quality is unassailable. And like I said, because when Mario took over, Miami was in the 70s, give or take, in terms of class rating, and we in top 15, and we were already top 20 before these 4 commitments today, and I just quote tweeted somebody saying that, and it says, "Is that good?" And somebody hopped in and I mentioned, said, "No, if you're not if you're trying to win championships and blah blah blah." And I was like, missed the point. Like, just it completely flew over your head, honestly and truly. Was it going to be a number 1 rated class? No. Well, we're going to, have as Lane Kiffin called it, maybe the luxury tax spending of Texas A&M to have the highest rated recruiting class in recruiting history. And good on Jimbo for pushing back on that, but you ain't got a lot to kick it. Like, come on, buddy. No, it was never going to be that. But you would have bitched and complained if you're a Miami fan if it would have been if we would have stayed in the 70s or only improved up to like the 50s. You got top 15, 1-5 with a number 5 overall per player average. You know what I mean? So you get improved quantity from what it was and unassailably great quality. And you've already added guys in the portal. And Mario Cristobal noted today that there is the chance, and we expect to, there's room to be able to sign a few more, I believe is what he said. So that means if you have a guy who's still out there, like what's his name? Josh something Jr., the offensive tackle from Washington. He just visited. God bless it. Josh Connerly Jr., there we go. The Anthony Munoz Offensive Lineman of the Year at the Adidas All-American game. He's a guy who plays basketball at Rainier Beach in Seattle, Washington, which is like the preeminent program for high school basketball up there. That's why he's taking more visits later on in March and making his decision later on this year, because his basketball schedule precludes him from taking all the visits that he wants to take. Sure, that's a guy who you could potentially add. I don't necessarily see it happening, but hey, if you add him, number 1 offensive tackle in America, again, the All-American Offensive Lineman of the Year to this class, hey, sign me up. If not, we see if spots get taken in other places by transfers, if there are other transfers in the portal, things like that. Cristobal noted that maybe linebacker is a position that we want to look at a little bit further. Hint, 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 hint. So if there's any great linebackers out there that are in the transfer portal, expect to hear from Miami. But it's really great that, and Jacoby Matthews picked A&M as well. Good God. I mean, if you want to talk about SMU having a payroll to keep back in the day, sheesh, boy, man. I mean, hey, but it's all legal, NIL stuff, and you can find ways to pay players. I mean, and whatnot. But whoo, Texas A&M, they jump straight in, 10 toes down. I mean, right into that ocean. But man,
well, the other heavy hitters must have payrolls as well.
Oh,
they'd all be going to Texas A&M.
Well, I mean, I'm just mentioning them because Jordan Bowman put that comment up there. But Nick Saban said the same thing today, like, "Oh, we've never cheated, we've never had da-da-da-da." Nick, you don't have to lie to kick. And every player did not just go to Alabama on the strength. And every player didn't have a new Charger, and you doing Charger numbers from the dealership you own in Tuscaloosa, and you don't have to lie to kick it. And there's plenty of people who, because I've heard stories second and third hand, right? There's plenty of people who know firsthand some of the stuff. And I mean, well, no, there's a couple of stories that I know firsthand. It wasn't about them. It was about some other teams. But we're not going to sit here and pretend like, the bag man doesn't exist and we don't have and things like that. Like, inducements and, Eric Dickerson on them years ago with that Trans Am, which he finally admitted, he got paid for it or grandma paid for it and then they paid her back what she paid for it. And that's how it was free. They bought it for you. You know what I mean? Like, don't even, I was born at night, but not last night. Stop it.
You've got to go all the way down to the 47th class in the country, which is TCU, to find as few letters of intent signed by a class 14 than Miami's 14. So,
hey man,
an excellent class.
Have only 14 players in the class and be top 15 overall. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my point. All right. Now getting to the next player spotlight would be Inez Cooper, somebody that I wasn't familiar with until today, an offensive tackle out of Pleasant Grove, Alabama.
Yeah, Jamarcus Thomas says Inez Cooper should have been a 4-star. I'm not so sure about that. I think he should have been maybe ranked a little higher than he was. He was like 1,500 in the country and like 165 overall at tackle. 6'6", 352, huge, massive dude. Plays with a mean streak, loves to be engaged in run blocking. He's a developmental guy. I think it's going to take him a season or two to be able to hit the field. First of all, I think that the direct analogy or comparison for me is Navon Donaldson from just a sheer size perspective. Again, a guy who's 6'6", 350 plus, and also wears jersey number 55. So, I mean, there's that as well. But just like Donaldson, Inez Cooper has a little bit of bad weight. And I think that he needs to reshape his body a little bit to be able to just maintain health and just be effective. So instead of being closer to 360, if he was down in the 335, 340 range, Jamari Salyer for Georgia, he was 6'5" or 6'4", 340, and had a little bit of wiggle to him because, I mean, if you're that big, you're going to, but like just a little bit too much bad weight. So, yeah, I really want him to redshirt, work on reshaping his body, and then take maybe a slower progressional path forward. I think that Cooper, even though he played both ways because you're the biggest dude in the school. So, like, yeah, if we need somebody on the inside of the defense, big guy, go do that. But he played tackle and guard in high school. His last year, he played mostly right tackle. Like Navon Donaldson, I think his future is really inside at guard, even with his height, which is more for a tackle. I don't think that he has really long arms from what I saw on the film. If so, like maybe like only height level wingspan, not the extra long, arm wingspan or anything. And I think that bodes well more on the interior of the line. And I just think that he lacks that really quick twitch ability that you need on the outside, especially with edge rushers and speed rushers at the collegiate level. But he's big, he's strong, and he's mean. And you put him at one of the guards, and I think that can be a really, really good situation for Inez Cooper. But again, a season or two down the line after he reshapes his body a little bit, I think that'll be really where his success lies. And the last thing is just from watching film, he pops straight up sometimes, so he doesn't really have a proper pad level right now. And you can do that when you're 6'6", 360 damn near in high school because you're not going to run into many Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, Ndamukong Suh size dudes, Vita Veas in high school who can really take you if you aren't leveraging your pad level well and use that against you. He's just so much bigger than guys. He's basically flicking them off like flies. But yeah, lowering that pad level and having the proper kind of bend and everything will be necessary for him also, especially as he moves, as I hope, inside the guard moving forward.
Connerly, the offensive tackle out of Washington, is the only top 250 player in the 247 Sports rankings that is not signed. And their crystal ball was 50% Washington, 50% Michigan. Well, considering what's going on in Michigan right now, you got to think that a player coming all the way across the country for a coaching staff that he doesn't, of course, is unknown at this point. And then Washington having the issues that they've had on the field isn't like an elite program, of course. It's just the hometown discount of sorts, possibly, that he's still wide open as a top 10 player in the country.
Yeah, and hopefully all the schools recruiting him already went in home last week before the dead period started and everything. He is going to take a couple of more visits, like I said, in March. But hey, we got phones and we got social media, so I hope that our coaches are burning that up with Josh Connerly, because if you add him to this group, that would be even better. Because
you got to think with Mario being at Oregon that he was pursuing Connerly.
Absolutely.
All right. Falconer X. It's great to hate the Florida Gators.
It feels good, doesn't it?
So that's coming in from Falconer X. We appreciate another super sticker from Falconer X. And then Blaine Boy, we'll get to you here with appreciate that contribution. It's one thing to pick A&M, but to troll your hometown team, it's kind of messed up. We will be in the top 5 easily this time next year. Hashtag Mario.
I mean, I hope so. Obviously, going from 70 to 15 in a month and a half with what, 2 coaches and a possible, like we're talking about, like you have nowhere near full staff. You've already lost T-Rob to Alabama. You just lost Brian McClendon back to his alma mater of Georgia this past week. And those are your 2 ace recruiters. Even though you have good recruiters like Cristobal and Stephen Field, and obviously Kevin Smith on this team or on this coaching staff, those are your top 2 recruiters. And you lose both of them, and you still move forward and you do all this stuff. Really, really strong work. Hopefully, we're able to move forward towards the 2023 class. Yes, they're coming in mid-cycle for 23. I've said this, and a buddy of mine, he texted our group chat like, "Oh, Mario's kind of laying the foundation for substandard recruiting next year," but it's a 2-year process to recruit the top talent. You lob the offers the first contact day. It's the first Monday of September, their junior year. Excuse me, that's when you can officially contact them. Because there's unofficial contact, and like you go to the school and I'm recruiting the senior, and then like this 6'4" junior or sophomore receiver walks by. Coach, who's that? They hear you ask that. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, hold on, earmuffs, and then like when you go to recruit these schools, you see the younger talent that's there. You have these young youth camps. These guys who come through. Brandon O'Doy in football hotbed. Shout out to him. He's done middle school All-Americans for years. He's had events at the University of Miami campus. You want to tell me that those coaches don't know those guys who are using the IM fields or whatever for this, All-American or this whatever middle school event? They know that, right? So it really is a 2-year process for the top talent to be recruited. Mario and staff are coming in at the end of their junior year. So you're talking a full 1 calendar year. That is mid-cycle for the 2023 class. Agree or don't, it's kind of just the fact of the matter in the world of recruiting. But I do hope for Blaine, to agree with Blaine Boy, that Miami does develop just that killer instinct on the trail, and Cristobal is able to really just leverage the staff that he builds to really, really, really get this roster going in a more positive direction.
If Falconer X says something remotely funny, I'm typically going to chuckle or laugh just because when I look at the profile picture, it's got me about halfway there already. So Falconer X, we appreciate once again for your contribution, the 3rd one of the night. Thank you so much. I think we're at 199, 222, 1111. So there might be some kind of system involved there, but we love it. So thank you, Falconer X. When Miami was good in the late 80s, several players parked their Nissan Maximas with the Texas plates at our fraternity house across the Hecht Athletic Center.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's the little frat row there in Miami. So definitely had some fun times partying over there when I was an undergrad. So I know what you mean, man. To Toby Rohrer's point, we're starting Cooper at DT. So what? What are you guessing that, or was that stated? Because I did not hear many. Excuse me, old habit. I apologize if that's in the swear jar. I did not hear Mario say that, and I watched the whole presser, and he was talking about everybody. And if I just click back over real quick here, of course the website wants to load slowly, but if I go down here and I scroll and it loads, come on. I'm trying to find the official announcement. Offensive lineman. No, the official announcement from the University of Miami says offensive lineman in the graphic. So I'm really interested to see where you glean that from, whether that is a hope or that was stated. But again, from Mario Cristobal and from the official graphic, and it's a thing like with the MLB draft. You draft a player, or the NFL draft even. Like, oh, this guy played safety in the league or in college, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers announced with the whatever pick, Mark Rogers, outside linebacker. And you're like, oh, hey, wait, he was a safety at Pittsburgh, but we're saying he's playing outside backer. It's one of those things. All of everything that I have heard and seen, and with my own eyes and from the University of Miami, says that Cooper is going to play offensive line. So that's only where I come and question that. If he works, if the only way that I would put him at DT is if we went to like a 30 front, but Chris Ball has said that he wants to play a 40 front base defense. So because then you could have like the Ashawn Robinson, Mount Cody, zero tech, nose tackle guy, and he could fill that role. But yeah, so I just wonder where you get that from, because I have not seen or heard any of that from anybody at all.
300 plus on the line. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football for our Miami show featuring Cam Underwood from State of the U. So, of course, we give you an hour of content here each and every week, but understand that with setting up schedules and communications back and forth, and Cam usually hangs out for another 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes beyond the 60 minutes that he gives us a large chunk of time each and every week. So just be appreciative of that. And we know that many of you are. So thank you for that. Get the word out there that we're talking Miami football here every Wednesday at 7 Eastern. We've been extremely consistent with that time, but understand that things do come up from time to time. That's why it's important to hit that bell for the notification once you have subscribed to the channel. Therefore, you know when we're going live. Super sticker coming in from Terrence Templeton. We appreciate that so much, Terrence. Thank you so much for your support. Next up, in the final signing from the day about 3 hours ago, Matthew McCoy, offensive tackle out of St. Augustine, Florida.
Yeah, this is another guy who is a future developmental offensive lineman. 6'6", says 285, carries his weight well. Is a basketball player for one, and I think that keeps his weight down a little bit because you're doing all that cardio just running in basketball. Also, as well, he played tight end as a junior in high school before, which is his first year in football, before transitioning to left tackle for Creekside this year. This is a kid who's big and long. Like I said, played tight end before, plays basketball as well. So he has those great kind of athletic skills and movement skills. The first clip or second clip of his huddle is him chucking a guy inside to leak outside on a screen. And that's really where he shines, his athleticism, because, you can have plodding offensive linemen who are more as like, run blockers. This is a guy who can really, really move. So if you want to run counters, you want to run slip screens, you want to have a guy out in front of whomever the skill player is, Matthew McCoy is that guy. Already wrote the notebook for him, but yeah, he needs to just add a little bit of weight and kind of functional man strength. And at 285, he can be in the 315 range and really not lose much athleticism, just to be, at a standard size 4 tackle. Just needs to gain a little bit more experience as well. I don't know if it'll be left tackle or right tackle, but again, he's another guy who's probably a mango season away from being ready. And that's okay, because we do not need him to step in right away like we did with Zion Nelson 4 years ago, because Zion Nelson 6 years or 5 years later is still here. So, Matthew McCoy can reshape his body a little bit, gain some weight and strength, and then hopefully challenge for one of the tackle jobs in 2024 and beyond. But this is a high-caliber player. He plays with more physicality than a lot of basketball players, because a lot of times people will use that as a derogatory term for a football player because they don't like the contact or things like that. That is not the case with Matthew McCoy. He definitely does enjoy the contact. He definitely will lean on you when given the opportunity, but he can still just develop a little bit more. But Cristobal said this was a priority recruit as soon as they sat and watched film. So inside the building, they really think higher of him than his 3-star rating, and hopefully that comes to bear in the future.
Michael Love, appreciate you being here, sir. Good to see you. I'm celebrating this day. Good save from Coach Mario. Great content, Mark and Cam, as always. Legends, like and subscribe, everyone. Michael, thank you so much for that. Appreciate you being here. You know that. Cam, in looking at the recruiting rankings, the couple programs that stand out to me would be Kentucky at 13, Missouri at 14, just ahead of Miami. Again, they don't challenge the Canes in regards to a player rating, but overall with much larger classes, that they're in rarefied air for them. And also Stanford, which has had a rough time for 3 or 4 years at number 17. And I've got all the respect in the world for David Shaw, extremely intelligent, well-spoken gentleman, tremendous coach who had a good run for the first half of his tenure at Stanford. But again, they've not been a good football team for a while now. And he's at number 17. Is there anything that catches your eye from an ACC or national perspective?
In the national perspective, obviously, it's going to be, and I saw Luke Walker talk about Carolina having the number 1 class in the ACC. Okay, true, you did, with 2 5-stars and 8 4-stars. Solid work. I would say, yeah, the Missouri and Kentucky classes right there, and LSU only had 15 commitments right now, and they're just behind Miami in terms of per player average, but with a higher overall score. But Missouri, oh yeah, they got the number 3 player in America, Luther Burden from East St. Louis. That's the same school that produced Jeff Thomas back in the day. So he really raised up their class. I mean, number 3 overall. Like, come on. So you have that. A couple other guys. Oh, DJ Wesolak, he visited Miami or came down to Paradise Camp or something like that. So there's another guy. So that's a good group. And then Kentucky, man, they dropped Keontae Goodwin from 5 stars. See, that's that bullshit, man. Like, this is a 6'8", 340 offensive tackle who's a 5-star all the way through the process. He is from Indiana, and he signs with and is enrolled at Kentucky. But all of a sudden, now we're going to drop him from a 6'8", 340, right? Number 6 in his position, number 1 in the state of Indiana. We're going to drop him, or they dropped him down to a 4-star. Like, that's nonsense. But they got him, which is a 5-star. I don't care what anybody says. He's a 5-star the entire process, and that didn't change just because he chose to sign with Kentucky. Then you got a bunch of other 4-stars there. That's really, really good work. And I know that there were some people who were advocating for Mark Stoops to get the Miami job, saying that what he's built in Kentucky could be the blueprint, but I think that we should vibrate a little bit higher than that. But those 2 teams really, in terms of the national rankings. In terms of ACC rankings, it's really just, I mean, North Carolina at 1, Clemson with 20 commitments, which is a big number for them. They are usually in that 17 to 19, or they've had some years of like 16 to 19, but going with 20, and then potentially they just missed out on the safety earlier who chose A&M because A&M paying, but they have room to add a couple other guys as well. So they're probably going to end up at the 22 range or something. That's a big class for them. So they're definitely looking to retool there. And then everybody else kind of just slots in. I don't really care about the rest of the ACC, but it should be. I would like to see Miami at the top, or top 2 at least. Carolina still is doing good work, but that's just my kind of quick take. But I mean, yeah, you really should have, when Cristobal gets things going, it should be Miami, Clemson, and then everybody else. And yes, Luke Walker, I said it, we should be recruiting better than North Carolina. We're not right now, and that's a credit to you guys. But, if those are fighting words or challenge accepted, straight. But I really think that that is the way that's the proper order of things. And hopefully if Miami does what Miami needs to do, that's what we'll be doing.
Virginia Tech's recruiting has been awful, but credit to Brent Pry, the Penn State defensive coordinator, just took the job from Justin Fuente, 33rd rated class. I think he lifted that considerably. So
that's real solid for them.
Yeah, because they've been falling off.
I mean, but even with good years with Fuente and with Beamer, you're talking like in the 40s and 50s with every now and then getting up into the 30s and maybe lower 20s. But again, a mid-cycle coaching change and everything. I mean, end of cycle coaching change, and you get up from the 70s or whatever into like the mid 30s. That's really, really a solid effort from them.
Kentucky pre-Mark Stoops was recruiting 65 type in that, and then it took him even some time. He immediately upgraded that, but still 45, 50, something in that range. And now, my goodness, who knows what he's going to do with classes like this. So we'll see. The other thing that comes to mind, you may have to clean up some metrics for me here. So if you just take the straight final result of the class, which is both the quantitative and the qualitative number. That's the final number. So, for example, Texas A&M at the top at 328.59. Go to the Kentucky class, which is at 237.88. That's roughly 85 points less. If you would take 85 off of the 237 posted by Kentucky, you're falling out of the sky. Like, you're way out of the top 50. Can we make that judgment that the drop from the number 1 class to the number 13 class, and again, it depends on number of players, but still, generally 1 to 13 is from like 13 to 80?
Yeah, that's where we are. And actually, with the last commitment, they're up at, as I just looked at it, 330.61 points. And look, hey, I love how people want to say for years that oversigning is not a thing. If you have 25 income encounters a year, and I'm looking, and I know math, right? So math numbers work. So 29 is greater than 25. Am I right? That's a larger number, right? So both Georgia and Texas A&M have 29 commitments this year. And they probably got somebody in the transfer portal. So then tell me how, right? If you have 25 incoming scholarships a year, you're taking 29. And people can say, oh, well, like you count things forward, you count them differently. Yeah, but when you do it every year, which is this practice of oversigning, it's not just the one-off where I signed 27, but I counted 2 back to last year. You're doing that year over year over year over year, which is what some of these schools are doing. So just but hey, there's 29 dudes in that class, and they're monsters. But yeah, the gap that you're talking about between 1 and 13 is such a gulf as 13 and 80. That really shows the quality and quantity that Texas A&M paid for in that number 1 class.
Yeah, Texas A&M this year, but that's the goal.
Or remember
all the time.
Yeah. I mean, again, like Ohio State had one of the best classes ever. What was it, 2 cycles ago? I think that they had at the time best class ever. Alabama's had a class up there. Georgia last year had a class that was in that same kind of range. No, it's not. I mean, it's singular to Texas A&M this year because they really went overboard. But no, you always can find that same delta change thing from 3 to 8 is the same distance as 8 to 27 or whatever in terms of class ranking. Like those mathematical games are always able to be found if you look for them.
I don't know if that's something that's common knowledge for your average college football fan. I don't think they grasp that. You see the number 13 class in the country and you think, unless you see the name Georgia next to that, then you'd be alarmed. But other than that, you're thinking 13th rated class in the country. That's a really good class, which it is. But still, the difference between that and the top 2 or 3 classes is from 13 to 75 or 80. Wow.
Oh, yeah. No, it's that. And yes, you have player development and everything that goes with that and everything. But like, this is why we talk about, the blue chip ratio and getting that talent matters, because you just have better athletes. And if they weren't better athletes, everybody wouldn't want them. Like guys are just bigger, stronger, faster, and better able to, perform the job function that they're being asked to do in football. And that's just the way that things work. So, I mean, like if you get one of those guys, if you get one of those guys in a different situation, they stand out like a sore thumb. Wandale Moore at Purdue. He stood out like a sore thumb. Oh, yeah, I remember that game against Ohio State. And I remember all those crazy. He looked different, right? Everybody in America wanted him. And he was down between them and like Louisville or Kentucky because he's from Kentucky. Or he's from Louisville, sorry. And then he ended up going with Jeff Brom because Jeff Brom did not take that job back at Louisville that year. But Rondale Moore, not Wandale Robinson, similar name, but Rondale Moore was one of those everybody's All-Americans that any team in America would have taken and everybody wanted. And then he chose to step down a little bit and play at Purdue, and he stood out like a sword. It looked like he was in fast forward and everybody else was in slow motion, right? That's just what it looks like. and it's not by happenstance that he looked like that and was able to play like that, because he was one of those dudes.
We will get back to Miami, folks. I just have to make one comment, because there are certain situations in college football, certain programs and coaches, and I alluded to Mark Stoops, that intrigue me and fascinate me. So Dave Clawson is bringing in the 75th rated class in the country. And I'm guessing he's still going to go 8-4. He's still going to coach them up to 8-4 status.
Yeah, so. No, he's a very good developer. And the thing about it is, he's built that program where you get a 2 or 3 year buffer. I'm going to bring in the 75th ranked class. I'm going to train them up physically and, operationally in terms of what we need them to do. But those guys we got 3 years ago in that 75th-ish class, they have been developed both, mentally, physically, and otherwise, so that they're now sliding into these starting roles. So it's not, a one-to-one replacement. It's we're building up from the bottom, and then we're going to grow them. But these guys who we got to grow a couple of years ago, hopefully we've watered them, and, put them out in the sun, and now they're growing and sprouting into the players that we want them to be.
Pitt's at 71, Virginia 66, NC State 63. Yeah. Okay. Tyson Tracy is asking, Cam, do you think James Williams could excel in a Troy Polamalu or Cam Chancellor type role, more blitz packages, get near the line of scrimmage, give us more edge rushing?
First of all, those two dudes did not play the same role. I just wanted to put that out there. I think that James Williams, yes, if you play, he played that style in the box in high school, right? So he also, like Shamar Stewart, his good friend, played at Monsignor Pace for a couple of years, and then he went to American Heritage. And yes, he's a very good center fielder safety. You saw that game-winning interception at Pittsburgh. But he's also 6'5" and probably 225, 230. Now I haven't seen the kid, but you know what I mean? You're going to put on a couple pounds of weight and everything. And that's a kid who, he can walk down into the box. And, if he gets his blitz timing and things like that, I would love to see gigantic James Williams be the blitzer off the edge. You know what I mean? I don't want to see it all the time, because I think that he loses some positional value if he does that. But adding that to his roles and routines, adding that to his skill set or what he's asked to do, in some instances, I think that would be able to fit.
Okay. D-Rock Irish is telling us that Jim Harbaugh may be back at Michigan.
No, I went over and quoted it while you were asking me one of the other questions. Yeah, he is informed per Schefter. He's informed Michigan that he is staying. Despite the interest of and despite interest in interviewing with the Vikings today, he'll be returning to school in 2022 season. Sources tell ESPN. Michigan was, in the words of one source, quote, elated at that decision. So, but now, if we talk about that and we spin that back towards the world of Miami Hurricanes, remember that conversation maybe 20 minutes ago about Josh Connerly, where Mark mentioned, okay, well, what's going on with the University of Michigan and that whole situation? Well, that situation now has gotten clarity. So, Michigan always usually does well recruiting offensive linemen. So if you're thinking, okay, at that prior conversation, maybe we're going to take Michigan off of the board, put them squarely back on the board of Harbaugh's
name. I don't know how I would feel about that if I were the Michigan brass.
Well, Michigan, and again, I'm a Michigander. My uncle went to Michigan. I have good friends who went to Michigan. I know the stance of being a Michigan man. And they wanted a Michigan man for that job. They tried it with Brady Hoke. It did not work. And they went away from that with Rich Rodriguez. That really didn't work. And they were kind of hell-bent on getting a Michigan man back. And Harbaugh is that, because he went there and graduated and played there and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they're happy that he wants to be there and everything. Even with that, though, I would hope that Ward Manuel has the foresight to start preparing for whatever comes next in the next couple of years, because, once bitten, twice shy. And if he interviewed and was close to taking the job now, I would just say whoever Luke Fickell's agent is, their phone number should be in your speed dial, because here's a blank check and you're coming up to Michigan. And I don't care that you went to O State. I don't care that you coached there. I don't care that you wanted to be the coach there and they went in a different direction and you're salty about it. Maize and blue all day long. Let's get it.
Because I think Jim Harbaugh is an excellent coach, and I was even saying this after 2-4 a year ago. But as being one of the pillars of college football, I would have been more like, Jim, we just lost a playoff game. You've got a number of NFL suitors. Go talk to them. Here's your timeline. Here's your deadline, and get back to us. Not 5 weeks later, we're still hanging out there and he's out meandering all over the country talking to different teams.
Yeah. And I mean, people were saying that, this is a thing that was known behind closed doors of Michigan for since December, that he was looking around at least. But like I said, yeah. Cam Underwood greater than Steve Deese.
Steve Deese is on Michigan podcast. He has me on every Tuesday, does a Michigan podcast. Yeah, he's excellent as well. But Falcon Rex has his preferences, which I certainly can appreciate.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we've pretty much run our course, unless anybody's got any other questions that they would like to hit Cam up with, or comments or statements about today or otherwise.
Hot take, UF will smack Utah on the opener. I mean, okay. We'll see. UF going over 4 today. Oof. A little rough for the guys in Alachua County. They did get, Pyburn committed there last night. And like I said, he's from Jacksonville, and his whole family, his dad went to UF. He grew up going to the swamp on weekends, things like that. So that was a pretty foregone conclusion. But UF, they thought they were getting Harold Perkins. Nope. Everybody thought they were getting TreVonte Citizen. He's a cane. Jacoby Matthews, Texas A&M, and Matthew McCoy, who took his last visit up there as well, over 4. Hey, man, I personally love to see it. But, we are winding down this class. I do have the notebooks to finish. I'm going to post all 4 of the final ones when I finish them here before I eat dinner. My dinner is there on the table. Sushi tonight, in case you're wondering. Just because I've been working all day, I have time to cook. Been blogging all day. But the last 4 I will put up, those are Jaleel Skinner, Citizen Moss, and Moten is the last one. I'm like on the last 3 sentences of Moten's right now. And I'll be putting those up. And there's tons of stuff up on the website. I'm going to do a nice little thread of all the notebooks for all the players in the class in a little bit. But those are all been done and written. And as always, we appreciate you rocking with us both here and on the website. It is a monumental undertaking. That was one person, and then it was like 3 people, then it was like 5 people, then people leave, and then like you read people on other websites like Gabby Arudia, who I brought in the class of 2000, what was that, 18 to State of the U. Him and Marsh Thomas that same year, but he's moved on to a different full-time media job, and so as those people move on, the entire weight of National Signing Days and things falls on my shoulders. But I'm built for this, and I enjoy it. Just like Mario Cristobal said that he enjoys talent acquisition and recruiting and all this, roster building and stuff. So really just appreciative of the support that you guys have given me over the course of 11 signing days now. More if you count the early signing days and everything. But watching the show on the website, man, I really, really, really appreciate it. It is hard work, but it's a labor of love. I really do. I bleed orange and green, man. I'm a Hurricane through and through. And I hope that comes through, and I hope that you guys really enjoy that. And thank you so much for allowing me the time and the space to come into your lives for, when it's recruiting time. I really appreciate that.
So with over 400 on the line right now, First and foremost, get on over to State of the U for the deep dive on the recruiting class and everything else that is Canes athletics. Number 2, hit the like button. Also, keep in mind that we're going to be here next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And again, the schedules may change, but that's been pretty standard. Therefore, you subscribe, get some more folks in here to talk college football with us each and every Wednesday. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for the support. Cam, awesome job as always with your first love recruiting. Not that you don't talk it here every week for 52 weeks at some point.
Yeah.
So this is just another discussion to a certain extent. But thank you so much for laying down the knowledge as only you can.
No, like I said, I appreciate it, man. It's it's a blessing to be able to do it. So Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. The website is stateoftheu.com. I don't even know how many pieces I wrote today, and I'm writing 4 more that are going up for you, always free, 365 days a year. Personal Twitter is at Underwood Sports. I'm going to keep writing, then I'm going to have some dinner and then go to secret day job tomorrow. Appreciate it.
And keep in mind, folks, that most of you missed most of this. So just wait for the video to post and you can catch what you missed. See you next